This is it, our final day of walking. The day started just like every other day. Waking up early, checking to see if our clothes were dry.
Is any of it dry yet?
Not really. Finding out they're still wet. Quickly brushing our teeth and splashing our face with water. Slowly putting on our shoes and packs. Grabbing our walking sticks and heading out the door. We start walking and pass by the pension we were supposed to stay at last night and have a laugh. That was where we were gonna stay last night. Well, we're leaving now. As we leave O Pedroso, it becomes clear just how close we are. We're just under 20 kilometers to Santiago. It almost doesn't feel real, and in fact, it definitely doesn't feel real. But as soon as we get on the trail, the routine kicks in. It's automatic by now. We have our usual chunk of bread for breakfast. We fill up our water bottles. We're greeted by the sounds of Buen Camino from everybody we come across. But something about this day feels a little different. There's a certain hop in our step. We're walking much faster, and there are not only many more peregrinos walking, but there are mounted police patrolling the area. It feels just a little bit more intense and official than the previous days. On the one hand, there's a huge sense of urgency to get there quicker. Go straight there. We're so close. We didn't even take breaks this day. Then there's a feeling of anticipation. What is it going to feel like when we arrive in Santiago? And there's also that sense of hesitation. We don't know if we want this to end.
That's Santiago. I think we can actually see it for the first time. Yes.
And just like that, signs of life, excitement. This is Santiago. We're in Santiago.
So, we're about to finish. How do you feel?
I'm hungry. And the fact that, there's also a sign that says Monto de Gozo. So I don't know. Are we in Santiago? I'm confused. I don't know.
I would say me, on the other hand, I could definitely keep walking all the way to Santiago, but I also feel like this is the end of a quest that we kind of cheated on, but I still feel like we earned some of the experience points. So, I don't know, it's an interesting feeling. I thought it would feel relieving, but honestly, I'm just excited.
I think it's still a little hard to believe. It just feels like, really? Are we there? Are we? We're not, but we're almost. It's like right there, I think. Maybe it's because we didn't take a break today. It doesn't feel real yet.
I think I'm feeling the exact same way. After walking 200 miles or 320 something kilometers over the past 2 and a bit weeks, it's hard to feel like it's over. We just got used to the rhythm of this thing, and I feel like we just sort of figured out how to make it really enjoyable. So disbelief is the mood right now.
Santiago is a crowd of pilgrims waiting patiently their turn to take a picture in front of what feels like a finish line at a marathon. This big sign welcoming you in. But to our surprise and to our feet's dread, we had to keep walking. A lot. Oh, sure. Just another hill. The cathedral and where Santiago is still quite far from the outskirts of the town. We didn't even know where we were going, to be honest, but it didn't matter. The crowds of people ebbed and flowed, intermixed with pilgrims, tourists, and locals alike. It felt like we pilgrims were infiltrating a town that has become so used to pilgrims walking into their town that we appeared kind of to be a nuisance, an annoyance almost, getting in their ways as we're walking in. Or they're so used to it that we just blend into the landscape.
End of the road, baby.
We start to hear the sound of people and music, and we finally reach the cathedral square. This is where we knew we had reached our final stop. We made it.
Dude, we made it.
We took some mandatory pictures. We gave high fives, hugs, and kisses all around. Then we both looked at each other, looked around, blankly. The cathedral was surrounded by pilgrims just like us, feeling tired, feeling weary, confused, shocked, and uncertain. What now was the prevailing feeling? But nobody seemed to have an answer. It felt a little empty. So we made our way to the St. James Cathedral. We thought, well, might as well. We stood in line and we were told we couldn't bring our packs inside. Someone nearby overheard this conversation and said they'd watch our bags near the entrance. Then they held out a dish for money. We gave them a couple of euros and went inside. As soon as we got into the church, though, we both felt a little bit uneasy and honestly a little confused and somewhat overwhelmed. The person who said they'd watch our bags immediately left our bags unattended. And we felt a little bit empty without them. All of our things, though sweaty and worn out, were in there. After a couple of minutes of wandering through the church and our minds wandering elsewhere, we left immediately and decided we'd visit the church another day. We made our way to our hotel and received a warm welcome from our host. We got our final stamps and walked up a flight of stairs to our room. We almost forgot our walking sticks, as if they knew their jobs were done. But luckily our host reminded us. He pointed out the collection of palos or walking sticks that have been since left or donated to his albergue. We laughed. We aren't forgetting these ones. They felt like they were a part of us.
This thing. We gotta go. We're done. We did it. Get out of here. Yes!
We did it.
We did it. Yes. Well, here's our room for our final 2 nights. I think it's really nice. The only defining feature about the room is that we can't take a shower with this door open. There's a bathroom back here. Because if we do, the steam will come out and that'll trigger that alarm and then the whole building will have to evacuate. Other than that, it seems like a great place.
We got into our rooms, took off our packs for the final time, took off our shoes and socks one final time, and we were in a daze. How did our final day end so quickly? And now that we're here, what do we do? Was what we were feeling what we were expecting to feel? What should we be feeling? We thought we would feel more celebratory. We thought that Santiago would be a giant celebratory party. We were excited to come to Santiago, but it seemed like no one else was excited that we had arrived. Honestly, it made us feel a little bit down and empty. Maybe it was because we were hungry and tired, we hadn't taken any breaks. So, like we always did, we went downstairs, had some delicious beige food and beers from our albergue.
Whose turn is it?
It's yours.
Cheers to finishing and making it to Santiago, huh?
Cheers to the Camino. It has returned.
We went to go pick up the mochila or the backpack that we had shipped for.
Picking up our mochila or our backpack and not sure how I feel about it. I don't know if I want those things back. So heavy. And we're here at a bike shop because apparently that's where my backpack is. Okay.
Yeah, it was quite heavy.
That's both of our stuff in there.
Gracias.
Hi.
And when we made it back, per protocol, we took a big ol' siesta. When we woke up, it started to downpour. I was feeling really, really glad that we finished our walk when we did. Remember those moldy ponchos we threw out?
Goodbye, super creepily moldy ponchos. Ugh.
But I also wondered, what does this rain signify, if anything? After the rain stopped, we re-emerged and decided we would walk around again, give the town and our feelings another chance to redeem themselves.
There are tremendous acoustics.
But we couldn't quite capture what we were feeling. Disconnected, a little duped. Why did we walk the Camino again? Was walking the Camino something to celebrate? How do we move on from this? Everything just seemed a little bit off and we had so many questions. The next morning, we decided to check out the Pilgrims office to get our Camino diploma, or the Compostela that proves that you walked on an official Camino. We had heard and read many things about this place, mostly that it's similar to your local DMV office. Lines out the door, apathetic staff, disorganization, all of that. We weren't even sure if we wanted our Compostelas, to be honest. Out of curiosity, we made our way there. We were pleasantly surprised, honestly. A small queue, some inspection of our stamps and dates, a couple of questions about our routes, and then we received our certificates. Free of charge at that. They asked for our full names and explained that our certificates were to be printed in Latin. My name was no longer Lisa, it was Elizabeth. After we got our certificates, we sat down for some breakfast and tried to figure out and translate what our certificates actually said.
To all the Sedelos and pilgrims, for the sake of devotion about the threshold of St. James, our apostle of Spain and protectionist coming together is going to make
Turns
known
out
that they
both
have
Josh
made
and
the
mine
full
were
trip
very
of the visit.
different.
Maybe this one says this guy who has walked further than that girl.
For those of you who have seen the Martin Sheen movie about the Camino called The Way, all of it was a bit underwhelming in comparison. No one asked the reason we walked, how the experience was. There was no music. It wasn't a momentous experience. It was all very transactional and official. We spent the rest of our day in Santiago honestly in a little bit of a rut, eager to move on to the next adventure, but a little bit dissatisfied with the way this one ended. Maybe we had too many expectations of the Camino and of Santiago, the end point, the destination. But maybe it wasn't even about that at all. We had been preparing and thinking about the Camino for over 3 months now, ever since we first heard about it back when we were still living in Hawaii. It was an ever-presence in our lives even as we explored all the new cities in Europe, as we planned, packed, and repacked, leading us all the way up to St. Jean Pied de Port. The Camino was the quest, the journey we knew we wanted and needed from the moment our friend Dan first shared it with us. And in the weeks leading up to it starting, it still was. And when we started walking, it still was. Although, we did go back and forth, and we complained quite a bit.
Today's been 18 miles of basically no shade, a lot of uphill, really, really hot.
But as we approached Santiago, it still felt like the quest and journey we wanted and needed. We just didn't know what to expect when we reached the end of it. The next morning we got up and got ready to go to our next destination. I'm kind of excited to have my bag back, but I'm also kind of sad. And I'm also kind of sad to get rid of my decathlon bag. It was a good pack, just a End of an era, it feels like. Don't really need this. Yoga strap I never used. Sleep liners. Are you sure you don't want to keep this?
Definitely sure. Gotta go.
Will I wear this hat? Will I wear it?
Probably not.
We're gonna go see if we can donate some of the things that we have and also leave our follows or our walking sticks. A little bummed.
So we're hanging out here at the Pilgrims House, and originally we just came by this place to see if they would take a donation of all the extra stuff that we bought for the Camino, but don't really need any more for the rest of our trip, to see if it would be useful for them or for somebody else who's about to take the same pilgrimage that we did. And honestly, what we found was so much more amazing than just a place for donations. In fact, that's definitely not what this place is even for. To be honest, I wish that we had found the Pilgrims House right after we finished up with the actual Camino. After we had walked through the church, after we had put our bags down, checked into our hotel, I really wish that this was the first place that we went to. And the reason for that is this is the first really welcoming place that we experienced since we finished this thing, and it's a place just for pilgrims, just for people like us who've just finished walking this super long thing. You make it into Santiago, and then you're kind of greeted with indifference. But the Pilgrims House so far has just been this amazing, welcoming beacon for us. You come in, and they welcome you, and for the first time since we started this thing, someone actually acknowledged the difficulty of doing something like the Camino. You walk in, and the first thing that they say is, "Congratulations." Wow, I mean, like, welcome. Wow, what a thing you did. And hearing that for the first time after doing all this just warmed my heart, because honestly, once you first get into Santiago, the first thing that you feel is just, what do I do now? Not just because you finished with something, but because you feel like there should be something to wrap up the quest that you were on, some sort of celebration, some sort of way to make sense of the whole thing that you just went through, but in reality there isn't. That's where the Pilgrims House steps in. They offer you coffee and tea and a place to sit. They just have this group chat of all the new pilgrims that have come in to help them sort of decompress and talk about their experiences of going on the Camino. The things that they learned, the things that they left behind, the things that they are going to start doing new in their lives, and what they learned along the way. And I think that experience is everything, and it was something that we were missing. Not only that, but having a peaceful place anywhere in Santiago is a blessing, especially considering the jarring juxtaposition between walking for 10 to 15 miles at a time and not really seeing another human or just only a handful of other humans, to all of a sudden making it into this big, super busy city, and then just starting to feel like you're a small bit into this bigger thing instead of the very introspective inner journey that you've been having for the past couple of weeks to months. So if you do the Camino, this is the place that you should come right after you finish.
We have to leave for our bus in about half an hour, and I'm really, really sad because it's the place that we didn't know that we even needed. It's honestly the quietest place that we've been since we've been in Santiago. It's not our hotel room, it's not a cafe, it's not out for dinner. You can just sit and be. As we left Santiago and the Camino, we felt a bit more at ease, especially after leaving the Pilgrims House. Honestly, the abrupt ending was so jarring that it forced us to stop and wonder what we were missing. If there was ever a better allegory to the idea of it being about the journey, not the destination, it's how the Camino de Santiago ends. There was no closure, no party, no congratulations in Santiago.
So over the past 3 weeks, we've walked just over 200 miles across all of Spain with a backpack on. But this 20-minute walk to the bus station with all of our stuff back on is feeling like the hardest thing we've done in a while.
Feels so different compared to our Camino pack. I'm a little bit sad we have this bag back.
But, as we learned, the Camino giveth and it taketh away. It taught us not to look outward, rather, always inward. To expect external validation was probably flawed to begin with. And to get there, we had to sacrifice our need for constant entertainment. It's really impossible to share what you take away from the Camino completely. And what did we get for that sacrifice? A true understanding of what it means to say, it's all about the journey, not the destination.